A very, very, very good morning to you. How you're doing? It's the 1st of April. Chilly, very, very chilly morning. The traffic outside is quite something. But if you're tuned in, we're just about to make your morning absolutely amazing. This is Your World, and I am your host, Mwikali Mary. And today, being a Tuesday, we talk about all matters relationships. Relationships with your family, relationship with self, relationship with your partner, with your husband, with your wife. All of that is what we do on Tuesdays. And today is no different, because today we are handling a very, very interesting topic. With the posters out, the kind of feedback in our inboxes is quite interesting. We are talking about the rise of the effeminate man, and you could call it a soft man. A more emotionally aware man. What does that even mean? So we're looking at how the dating landscape has evolved over the years, with the rise of this quote-unquote soft man. So I am very eager to get deep into this conversation with my very, very amazing guest. And I will start introducing them. From my far, what hand is this? Left. From my far left, we have Miriam Mwangi, who's a relationship coach. Karibu sana, Miriam.
Thank you very much.
Always lovely to have you. Amazing
to be here.
And we have the gentleman today. We're talking about effeminate men, and lazima kungekuwa na a man who has very strong opinions, has a very woke, very woke when it comes to the boy child. And I'm talking about the executive director, Transform Nations, Simon Mbevi. Karibu sana.
Thank you. Good
we are eager to hear. Where do we go wrong? Do we even understand it?
There's a lot to say.
And of course, we have Bishop Grace Dalizu of Jesus Lives Ministries. Karibu sana.
Asante sana, Mwikali.
And we're color coordinating over here.
Oh, yes.
There's something that's happening over here. Karibuni sana.
Yes, yeah.
And I just want to dive right in, and I'm sure we had a whole conversation before the show began of what this means. Is it a bad thing? Is it a good thing? It's a Confucius thing. And our audience probably are just wondering, I wonder what they want to say. Maybe we'll start with a description of how we understand the effeminate man to be a soft man. Who is that? Who's that man? What describes that man? We can start from anywhere. We can start from you, Miriam.
I think from the get-go, I want to separate who the effeminate man is, separating the effeminate man between the emotionally aware man.
Okay.
I really do think that we need to differentiate that. There's a difference. The effeminate man is the man who takes on, in my opinion, feminine characteristics. That could be feminine demeanor, feminine way of being, feminine way of expressing himself, even feminine way of expecting things, as opposed to an emotionally aware man. An emotionally aware man or person is a person who is emotionally intelligent. They are aware of their own emotions. They are aware of their feelings and how to regulate their feelings. And they are aware of how to read another person's emotions. I would say that's not categorized just for women.
Okay.
Men also need to be emotionally aware. Effeminate is a totally different thing.
Whew.
Yeah.
All right. Simon.
Well, I agree with her. It's more when a man picks on mannerisms that are expected to be feminine or understood to be feminine. Now, there's some characteristics which were classified feminine that we are rising to understand. These are just human qualities, and everyone should have them, like the emotional intelligence, that men should have that as well. But then there are men who go way beyond that. The way they talk, the way they walk, the way they behave, and that's really what you see when you look at the dictionary. An effeminate man is one who has picked on characteristics generally expected from women and has begun to live them out. And many times as I deal with men, it's actually the women who complain more. And say, I want to relate, because we're talking about relationships.
Yes.
I want to relate with this man, but I feel like we are two women relating because of some of the mannerisms and ways that they carry themselves.
Yeah.
And it's more than to get to that place of understanding. There's what is socially picked up, and there's what is from the beginning God created as gender. I love what the Bible says. God created them male and female. And there are some things because of our brain, because of our hormones, that are associated with men and others with women.
Yeah.
And so the effeminate man then is that man who goes beyond what is expected of men and begins to pick a lot of those characteristics. As I said, some are good, it's just being human and being aware of themselves, and others then become a challenge when it comes to then relating with the opposite gender.
Absolutely. Bishop.
Thank you so much, Mwikali. I thank my other people, the guys in the panel.
Yes.
I want to say that a human being, let me start there by defining a human being, has the masculine traits and the feminine traits.
Okay.
That is both men and women.
Yes.
A woman could come out strongly as a masculine person, you know, but yet she's a woman, she's a female. Now, going back to the soft man, I want to say a soft man is a man that, first and foremost, has emotional intelligence. Number two, a soft man is one who empathizes. He's also kind. Beyond being kind, they are also very vulnerable, you know, emotionally vulnerable. And for me, if I can go beyond that point, I feel it is a strength for that man to be emotionally open rather than repress the emotions, because that's what is bringing about depression and other things that are negative. Therefore, I stand to say that an emotionally aware man is a man that will go a long way to build their relationship, because they empathize, they understand, they manage their emotions so that they are able to resolve conflicts or any other thing that may arise. And therefore, for me, I stand with a soft man.
All right. All right. And I love that we've gotten that out of the way. Then we'll get to the nitty-gritties of that. But just to point out, well, a question of the day today is the rise of soft men in modern dating a positive shift towards emotional vulnerability, or is it a sign of men losing traditional masculine traits? I'm going to say that again. Is the rise of soft men in modern dating a positive shift towards emotional vulnerability, or is it a sign of men losing traditional masculine traits? And my question then is this soft man a new phenomenon? Is it new? Would you say it's rising now, according to the question that we are asking today?
The society is evolving.
Yes.
The society is evolving, and the traditional man as we knew is no longer there. And as my brother said here, some of the things that are causing this man to evolve is the upbringing.
Okay.
Because we are not bringing up our sons the same way they were brought up in the past or long time, where they were told, go and hunt, go and do this. You must do this to be a man.
Yeah.
The men that we are raising right now, and we have to appreciate, are men that have evolved. And if we embrace them, then out of them we'll have benefits. But if we castigate them and say, you can't behave like this, you can't speak like this, because there are men who just cry. I see my son just cry. And I say, son, what is it? Mom, you're not understanding me. Oh. Meaning there is that space that we have to give the man of today to evolve the way the society is evolving.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, I have no problem. Actually, I appreciate emotionally vulnerable man.
Yes.
But I would not want a circumstance where both me and my man are crying at the same time. I think I would be very disordered and very perplexed, and
you'd be shocked.
I'd be shocked. Or a case where there's a break-in in the house and we're both tunapiga nduru the same way, we're screaming the same way. I mean, it's okay to be afraid, but at the same time, show me that you're in control and you're a leader. Because like Mr. Ndovi said here, from the very beginning, God created the male and female, different traits.
Yes.
We came after the man. So the man was supposed to be a coordinated leader, a coordinated priest and prophet.
Yeah.
And we were to come and fill in that space of helping him. So how then does it become that you have become so soft that now we are not even aware who is the leader of the home? We are confused.
Okay.
And that confusion is what is leading women to be so much in their masculine.
Okay.
Because there's a role they're trying to fit into.
Yeah.
You know, men, yes, it's right what Bishop said, that we have both masculine and feminine tendencies.
Yes.
But our masculine tendencies as women rise when there's a gap for that masculinity in our lives.
Okay.
So we end up taking a role that was never ours and lose our femininity. On the other hand, when we lose our femininity and take on the masculine role, the man is misplaced.
Okay.
He doesn't know where to fit in and what his role is. So I believe, yes, it's very good to be emotionally aware as a man, but at the same time, it's still very good to hold on to your traditional role as a man.
Great. And I know, Simon, you have something to say about this, and probably I'll just add on to, as you answer this question. Then from what Miriam just said, then at what point do we know we're soft imefika mwisho? You know, like, this is where we draw the line. As a man, how do you find that balance?
Well, it's hard to answer that because it's both objective and subjective.
Okay.
But objectively,
Yes.
there's been a conversation. In South Korea, I was reading that they have what they call flower boys, that have gone too far, when they're not only competing with the women about screaming and the things you said, but even about lipstick and all other expressions. They've gotten to a point where even the society is worried. So they're calling them flower girls, in South Korea. But it's a phenomenon that is worrying a lot of people. And this is what I want to say, incorporating what Bishop said and what she said.
Yeah.
They are extremes. We have had the macho man who has no feelings, is a dictator, is just pulling out his masculine energy in a bad way. And that one we condemn because it's not the right way.
Is that the toxic
even the
masculinity?
Man there, even the man who is caught up in that, needs help.
Yeah.
And we see a lot of them who come into the Man Enough program we do, and they were taught that way. And after a while, then it doesn't work, even in the relationships, because we're talking about that in relationships. But then we have another one who has no backbone, who has no courage, who has no resolve, who has no conviction, who has no way forward, but then begins even to take a lot more those feminine characteristics. I mean, I remember one mother coming to me and saying, I am really worried about my boy. I am glad that she is, because what we're talking about, good masculinity, is the in-between.
Yes.
Not the extreme of this side and the extreme of the other side.
Yes.
But then now he was very worried that she's picking up her lipstick and wearing it and going to school like that.
Yeah.
And then all the other kids are making fun of her.
Yes.
And even just, she is now, between 5 and 8, boys then are in touch with their emotions. So you find they're even afraid of insects and things like that. But if a boy is 17 and is running away from an insect, and the mother is the one going to kill all the sister, then usually we say in psychology then there's something that needs a conversation there. So we're not condemning the emotional awareness.
Yes.
I believe in what the Bible says. The Bible says Jesus was a lamb and a lion at the same time. There's a time to be a lamb as a man. There's a time to be there for you when you're crying and, as a man, as your man, and be able to encourage you and hold you. And there's a time when I'm in trouble and I cry because I need that expression of emotions. But there's a time that you need me to be strong and to be there to defend you and to be able to stand by my convictions, then if I don't have that backbone, it's going to be hard for this relationship to happen.
That's true.
So I'm just saying there's a balance, not to go to that extreme and not to go to this extreme, but to be that man who knows when to be a lamb and when to be a lion. If you're a lamb all the time, then the woman is wondering, did I marry another woman? But if you're a lion all the time, of course, that will cause problems. So it's a difference between aggressive, passive. In between is assertive. And that's good masculinity. You're assertive. You know what you want. You know what to go for. You're not passive, just sitting there and waiting and soft and crying for help all the time. There are even these men who depend on their women to support them. And they say, let me stay at home. You go and work and help me. You know, things like those. So it's a balance of being that man who is assertive, not passive, and not aggressive.
And I love that Man Enough is a program that allows men to come into a space where they can be vulnerable and learn and unlearn a lot of things that we grew up with, which begs the question on the role of our childhood, of our upbringing and the spaces we are at. I mean, Bishop, you are a mom. And when you have this conversation, what are some of the things that you would say should be done in that space of nyumbani? Kutoka kiwa mdogo, there are things that are said to boys. Man up. And then we say things like, a boy is just a boy. You know what I mean? So we excuse a lot of things, distraction, matusi, kuchapana, because a boy is a boy. So what is the role and what are some of the things that we need to do at home from the onset to just make sure that we bring up a well-balanced man? Yes.
One thing I want to say, Mwikali, is that I agree, but I think when we are talking about softness, the soft man is not exactly that man that wears lipstick, because that is the extreme. And I don't understand it as such. Number two, I take the masculine trait, like when I'm doing construction. That does not mean my husband is not there. He's there, but he has given me the space to also express myself in the managing of the affairs of the family. Now, coming back to what you are asking, when we are raising children, at first we raise them just as our children. Then they get to a point now that you begin to say, you don't dress up like a girl. Because I remember seeing my son wearing my wig. And I said, you don't wear my wig. You are a boy. But your sister can wear a wig. And as I raise them, what I encourage, and I want to say very, very frankly here, I allow the boy to be a boy by many ways. He's able to drive. But my daughter also drives. And I'm encouraging even the young one, the very young, to learn how to drive. I encourage all of them to supervise some works. Because one, we have to raise children or boys that are balanced. A boy that can fix chapati for himself or a cup of tea. When I get to my house, the one who fixes me tea is not my daughter. It's my son. I call him, come, I need tea. You know how I like it. What I'm trying to instill in this man is also independence. Because you cannot rely on a woman all your life, from me, your sisters, to your wife. That means you will never grow up holistically. So what I encourage is you have to be, even if you're a soft man, the way, everything is evolving, you have to do chores. You have to clean your room. You have to make your bed. That is a boy. I'm doing that too. Then the girl, of course, I tell them you have to be neat. You have to be responsible in the house. What I'm trying to say, Mwikali, and that's why I'm coming out strongly, to say the soft man is not necessarily a man that dresses like a woman or wears lipstick. I agree with him. They can be the extremes. I've seen in Asian countries that happening. But what I know, for you to be kind-hearted, for you to empathize, for you to have emotional intelligence, manage your emotions, not an outburst, not shout, not use your fist
Yeah.
to suppress the other one.
Yeah.
I think that is a soft man that has managed their emotions. And that's the way I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah.
That we don't have to have a hard line, you know, because when they go to the Western world, it becomes a different story.
Yeah.
Because as the man is changing the diaper, the lady is cooking. You can't sit there, wait for me to change the diaper, cook, because you're a man.
Yeah.
That is a different story. And therefore, let's raise our children embracing the fact that as much as I'm a man,
Yeah.
I have also to be with my feminine traits where I can cook, where I can empathize with what you're feeling, because empathy will build a relationship, not only with your girlfriend,
Yes.
but with your mother,
Yeah.
with your sisters. You'll not oppress them and say, because I'm a man, I'm speaking as a man. You know, they can pick them from the
Yes,
traditional man.
yes, because
I
it's
think
passed
the
on.
soft man we are raising
Yeah.
is not an extreme one.
Yeah.
As he said, I like what he said. He's assertive, he has discipline, he knows when to talk
Okay.
and when to lead.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And we're going to take a break. I know my panelists, Simon and Miriam, had something to say about that. But just to remind you, what the question of the day today is the rise of quote-unquote soft men in modern dating a positive shift towards emotional vulnerability, or is it a sign of men losing traditional masculine traits? So let us know what your answer to that question is. It's NTV Kenya across all social media platforms. We're taking a very short commercial break. We'll be right back.
Every crime has a story.
She didn't have her hair.
Every murder leaves a trail.
Nikaona mahali amepost, guys, I must die.
If I try to do something, ama kusema kitu yoyote, they will kill me.
But not every case finds justice.
Apelekwe kotini, ahukumiwe.
Walisikia polisi wakisema tumekamalizia.
Au maskari wakatuambia kujeni mchukue maiti yenu. Huyu amekufa hayuko.
For the first time, we take you deep inside Kenya's most chilling murder cases.
Kulikuwa na panga mingi, kulikuwa na chuma mingi.
More horrific and ominous details were about to unfold.
So it's just a personal vendetta.
Murder tips. The truth is buried in the evidence.
Reach your audience instantly and make a lasting impression with Nation Sema. Affordable bulk SMS at 0.3 Kenya shillings. Own sender ID for 10,000 Kenya shillings plus 10,000 free messages. To sign up, please call 0728434979 or email us on mkibunja@ke.nationmedia.com.
In a world that's constantly evolving, partnerships are the key to growth. In Kenya, the Kenya Electricity Transmission Company, KETRACO, has embraced a powerful partnership model. Public and private sectors come together to drive the nation forward. By working together with leading private sector companies, KETRACO has been able to tap into world-class expertise and resources to create a robust national grid that supports Kenya's growing energy needs. KETRACO continues engaging stakeholders on the upcoming transmission line projects under the PPP model. Join the Managing Director of KETRACO, Engineer John Mativo, on Wednesday, 3rd April on Fixing the Nation from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. only on NTV.
I feel kwenye moyo wake the pain of betrayal.
Not everybody wants this day to be a success.
Kuna yeyote anayepinga ndoa hii?
Cecilia!
Why are you still standing? Wakati they're ruining our day. Na umeng'eta tu hapo.
very long-lasting protections against sensitivity. And people come in and they're like, oh, it works. I can have ice cream and I'm not in any discomfort. I recommend Sensodyne because it works. It's brilliant.
Defending was once Italy's greatest strength, the key to their tremendous success at international tournaments. But in recent times, the Azzurri have been leaking goals, keeping just one clean sheet since the start of last year's European Championship. And during a two-legged Nations League quarter-final tie against Germany, Italy's vulnerability at the back was there for all to see.
Welcome back to Your World Tuesday edition. And this first day of April, we're talking about the rise of the effeminate man, the soft man, the more emotionally aware man. That is the man we're talking about. And the question today is the rise of soft men in modern dating a positive shift towards emotional vulnerability, or is it a sign of men losing traditional masculine traits? We have Simon, Bishop Grace, we have Miriam in the building, and during the break we had a whole other conversation, and I'm just going to rope in. We've talked about who the effeminate man is, the soft man, the emotionally aware man. So we've seen what it needs to look like. So sasa tukuje kwa ground. What it looks like on the ground, because when we're trying to date, when you're in a relationship with a man who's probably they're even trying to get into a relationship, there are things that women are looking for. Maybe a guy who's like this, who's like that, who's like this. Even this man who's probably soft, they've grown up in a society that points at him. Ilea, I when him softy, because they're called that. When him softy, and alianga sana. What are the issues that crop up when it comes to dating for this particular man who is termed as softy by the peers at that particular age? Akitaka kuingia kwa hii maneno ya mapenzi, kupendana, and as women, is that what we're looking for at the beginning, ama we want to have that later on in the relationship?
Listen, like I said earlier on, we are not condemning the emotionally vulnerable man,
yes,
or emotionally aware man. Yes. It's actually very, very important for someone to be emotionally aware. Actually, one of the biggest issues in relationships are people who are not emotionally intelligent.
That's true.
Meaning that they're hurting you and they don't even realize that they're hurting you. Yeah. And even when you try to tell them, listen, what you did yesterday was hurtful, all they can tell you is like, man up, or stop being a baby, because they don't have emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is very important for anyone, for everyone actually. I think we need to differentiate. This man who is being called softy, is he being called softy because he's an emotionally aware man, or is he being called softy because he doesn't quite stand up like a man?
Yeah.
And that alludes to the question. In fact, I've been itching to ask Mr. Mbovi this question. What is a real man? Because, we've actually described what effeminate man is.
Yes.
What is a real man? Does having emotions make you not be a man? Or does it, why does it qualify you to be called a softy? What is really a man, a real man in the real standards? I don't know. I just felt like I think we needed to
put that out there.
Put that out there, because we might condemn men who are just emotionally intelligent to be soft men.
Yes.
And I don't think that's fair, because we do have the category of real soft men and men who are emotionally intelligent. So I really think we need to differentiate who are we talking about.
Yeah, we could do that as we move forward now to the relationships.
Yes.
Because there's an outcry out there,
yes,
I think, on social media, especially from the ladies. I want a man, and I would describe a real man as a strong man, not a soft man.
Okay.
Strong means three things to me. Number one, strong means you're strong enough to stand by your convictions and do what you need to do. And that's what I believe I've had from the ladies as well. They want in a man who knows what they stand for, where they're going, and assertive, as we said earlier. Not aggressive, not passive, but assertive. They know who they are and they know what they want. Then they can become a leader. You can't be a leader if you don't know what you want. If everything goes and you look at everyone and say, so what do we do? At some point, you need to know who are you. Leadership is not dictating the way. It's also facilitating for the others to bring out their opinions. So I'm not going to the other extreme. So strong, in my opinion, means three things. Number one is that one of strong in convictions. Okay. Strong enough to be able to say no to something and yes to another. Strong enough to rise up to your responsibilities. Number two is strong enough to say no to temptations. You can't just let everything carry you. I mean, some men are too soft that every temptation knocks them down. Yeah. And how do you rely on a man like that? When, every temptation of a lady passing by, of alcohol drinking, of different things, they're just too weak within that they don't have a will to be able to say no. Lastly, strong enough to be emotionally intelligent.
Okay.
And we tell the men in Man Enough that it takes strength for you to agree that you feel bad and you need help, to agree that you're weak. Strength also agrees that you're weak. And so to me, vulnerability is a strength. Yeah. You need greater courage to be vulnerable than to hide it. So we're not condemning that, Bishop. We're saying that needs to be there. Yes. But then there are extremes where now the lady is wondering, so I was expecting you to at least give me leadership. I've told you what I want. Yes. We have discussed it. But then you're just sitting back and letting me do everything. That relationship is going to be difficult. Yeah. What we were saying, I mean, we could... My wife works, I work, we pull the money together and do some things together. But I can't sit back and just let her lead me in terms of provision. That she's the one hustling out there and I'm just staying at home and waiting. Yeah. Of course, that is going to bring problems. Yeah. Again, there are some expectations. My wife works, but she's very happy when I bring some flowers and appreciate her and celebrate her and spoil her. She's very happy. She may spoil me in other ways, but she only brought me flowers once when we were doing a big celebration. And anyway, I don't appreciate the flowers. Because, I feel like, give me something more practical I can use, like a watch or a car, buy me something practical. Yes. That's what you're saying as men. Okay. But she's very happy to have that. And, of course, other women may appreciate other things. But I'm just saying, as a lady, I remember talking to a CEO lady who was telling me, when I'm at work, I need to give a leadership. Yes. But I want to go home and feel like I've gone to a husband. Not to feel like I have to be a CEO again at home. I want to feel like someone who cares for me, hugs me, talks to me, listens to me, encourages me, and challenges me at the same time. Absolutely. So I think that's what we are saying in terms of relationship. Okay. Everyone plays a role in one way or another. So the extremes just mess up the dating.
And I know probably, Bishop, you'll have something to say about this, but I'm just going to pull in the conversation we were having earlier about the provision and leadership. And now we've got men who are saying, you bring 50, I bring 50, let's see how that goes. But kama ni rent, tunapatana katikati. Kama tumeenda date, tunapatana katikati. Na sijui kama niseme opinion yangu on that while I'm here. Because no. Yes, please. Yes, please.
I think back to just that soft man or soft man. Yeah. Soft man is not necessarily...
use your mic.
Not necessarily a person that has no conviction.
Yes.
And I say that because I've met a lot of soft men. Yeah. The kind of soft man I've seen, in my definition, is a man that is emotionally intelligent, that is, they manage their emotions even when they are angry, and they are able to provide leadership. This soft man also has convictions. But when it comes now to what you're talking about, provision and what about, I feel that boils down to the management of your relationship.
Okay.
Because if you're dating a person that is working and you are also working, that means, and you're a lady and he's a man, this man will expect at a certain point to see also the kindness bit of you, that you can call them and say, let's go for lunch.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? And he's still a man.
Yes.
And he remains a man even when you buy him lunch.
Yeah.
So what I feel, the management of a relationship remains between two people. Whether you are strong or abrasive, soft, it remains between you people. The man is not expected at all times to be doing. What is happening to your money?
Mm-hmm.
Mwikali, where is your money? Where is your money going? Yeah, in this relationship, you are dating, all right, you're dating.
Yes.
Maybe you are dating with, the intent of getting married.
Yes.
We must see those, you must put your best foot forward.
Absolutely.
You can't be waiting, he's the one giving flowers, he's the one taking you out for dates, to the movie, you can't even buy a shirt, you can't do what, that is not appropriate. Just because he should be a strong man.
Yes.
I don't believe in a strong man that way.
Yes.
I may believe what he has said to a degree,
Yes.
which I believe even a woman is supposed to have convictions.
That's true.
That is something that should cut across a soft man and a strong man, according to what maybe we are saying, an abrasive man. Conviction is the baseline for every human being.
Okay.
But when it comes to going out, dating, then it depends on the management of that relationship.
Okay.
Because you can be dating a very mean person. Why are we not bringing that out?
Let's
And
bring it.
the only way you can know the
Yes.
person is mean, they don't buy any perfume for you. They don't even suggest a date and pay for it. Is he a strong man to do it? If it's my son, I will sit him down and tell him, I think the woman you want to marry is wrong.
Yeah.
Because that is a mean woman. When was the last time she suggested
Yes.
you go out on a date and she paid?
So
Is it always you? Where's the boy getting money from?
So, Bishop,
Yeah.
I think we're talking of extremes. What we have not agreed from this side and this side is a definition of soft man.
Soft man.
We are talking about the extreme, and we are getting this
We cannot
definition.
stick to the extreme.
We're getting that definition from the dictionary. Effeminate
I've also
woman
looked at it.
is generally that extreme.
Yes.
But to come to that place of sharing, I would say, of course, some ladies go to the extreme, Wikali, where they say, my money is my money.
Your money.
And your money is our money.
like that money.
Now, that is extreme. Even as we don't want that. But then, I believe as a lady, you also don't want a man who is always expecting you to be the one pulling, paying for things. And he's not pulling his weight. Yeah, that's why we're talking now about the extremes. The balance is okay. That's why we're not talking about it. It's the extremes that people are complaining about. And those are the things we are talking about.
Yes.
But those extremes are not acceptable because they're going to...
Use your mic.
Let's also appreciate the soft man is a man that is positive. Positively managing the emotion. They can take a lady out. They understand when you're crying and they can empathize with you and probably even cry with you.
And
my husband cries with me.
And I've agreed with that, Bishop.
Yes.
I think where we differed is a definition of soft man. But then to get back
but you
to what we said about
you and Miriam are speaking on the extreme. There's nothing good about
I think let's differentiate.
Yes, please.
Let's call this man that Bishop is talking about the emotionally vulnerable man.
Okay.
There is that man.
Okay.
And he's a good man.
Yes.
I like an emotionally vulnerable man.
Okay.
Because he's intelligent. Let's call him that. That's who you're describing.
The strong man is what?
The strong man
is not vulnerable. He's cannot open up.
He's the man. He can be, but he's the man who has probably grown up being told crying is for women, you can't cry. He's a man who hides his emotions, which sometimes it's not always the best. But the soft man that we're talking about, Bishop, and indulge me for a minute, is the man, let's call him, like what we call women, the kept man. Quote unquote, kept man. Kept man meaning he doesn't mind being paid for, correct me if I'm wrong, Mwikali. Okay. He doesn't mind being paid for all the time. He doesn't mind being led by the woman all the time. He doesn't mind the woman probably taking the leadership role over him. I think that's the man that we are referring to as a soft man.
I think I did not get that definition right.
Yeah.
Unless I was reading differently. Because me, I did not look at it as a man who is kept. You know, I think that is not the correct... Maybe not Mwikali correcting you,
yes,
but I will correct you because the definition I looked at is a man that is moving away from the traditional, you know, traditional toxic masculinity. You know, traditional toxic masculinity. This is the soft man. That is, you know, veering off from that. And what I saw is like there is that fast evolving that men are no longer those men that should stand. They say in their house, I'm here to be heard, and nobody should speak. I think the soft man is different. First of all, he's emotionally very intelligent.
Okay.
What does that mean? He's vulnerable, one. He empathizes. When you're crying, they understand, and that's what builds the relationship. And then the other thing I saw out of that, because it's a research I did, is that this man who is soft man, the thing that they like when we come to your soft treatment is how they dress, is how they do their things, but not dressing like a woman necessarily, but a woman that is well groomed is a man that likes soft treatment. Because I know there are men that get out the way they walk up, no combing of their hair. But now men, when I was coming here, I spoke to my brother and I asked him, do you do facial? And he said many times. And I do my toes. But when I look at him, he's a proper man, sound man that tells the wife you can take a walk. So I was telling him, a soft man does not tell the wife to take a walk, empathizes with the wife, understands what they are going through. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
So that's what I saw. Not that if it was that, then I would have said no. If I read that, unless I did not read properly.
Bishop, sorry, I think we read different things. But to move us on, especially the relationship.
I can open the notes.
Especially the relationship, Mwikali. I think what we're saying in the relationship, the question you asked, is a soft male, then as he transformed the dating place, the dating scene. So we are saying there are those extremes which have become difficult for women to deal with, and even for men themselves to deal with. But then we are also saying, and I think we have all agreed, in spite of a difference of definition, that it's good and human for a man to be emotionally aware. And that's what I call strength, that you're strong enough to be vulnerable emotionally, and that's good. In that way, then it will be helpful. Because if I'm emotionally aware, then I'm going to listen to my woman as we are dating. I'm going to listen. I'm still going to be the man that she expects me to be, but I'm going to listen and empathize. And we are agreeing that is a good thing, and it's going to help. So I think from the beginning you confused us when you lumped together the soft man with emotionally aware. Because you can be what I am calling a real man, who is strong enough to stand for their convictions and lead, but strong enough to be vulnerable. That's what I call a strong man, not the toxic one and aggressive one. That one is for yesteryears. If you are that kind of a man, then you're going to be good for relationships. You're going to listen, you're going to help, you're going to empathize, but when you need to stand up for something, you will. When you need to be strong, you will. When you need to defend, you will. That is what I believe is expected out there. Not these other extremes which complicate the dating relationships.
Absolutely. Are we okay now? Bishop,
I have no problem.
Tumelewana sasa.
But not the extreme. We shouldn't dwell all the time on the extreme lipstick and high heels.
Yeah, because that does not define all of them. And if it's what to Egypt walikuwa wanapaka mascara. You know what I mean?
Hata Joseph alipofika huko. Akanyoa ndevu, akaweka mascara. And he was the prime minister.
Exactly, and it doesn't change.
But we don't advocate for that.
No, we don't.
Yeah.
Miriam, did you have something else to say before we...
I'm just trembling. I'm just taking it all in. I think now I'm about to introduce another term, I think the man that Bishop introduced now to us, like, you know, when she was describing her brother, is the metrosexual man.
Yes, that's the metrosexual man.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with being the metrosexual man. That's a well-groomed man.
Yes.
So again, now, there's still a difference between the metrosexual man and the soft man. But I think a metrosexual man anytime, he's good.
Sometimes they're lumped in together because they're men. So this is how I see it. Some of the times when we talk about toxic masculinity, it's probably how you were raised, the things that were passed on, some grand delusion of what a man should be and how they should react. So it's passed down. You saw it, you heard about it, you grew around it, and you pass it on as well. But when we talk about soft, so everything else that is not this grandiose thing that a man should be is now pushed to the side of being a soft man. If you are not abusive, if you're not, you know, treating people in a bad way, laughing, you know, those things, then you become this other kind of man that is not, quote unquote, the real strong man.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to something that we had talked about.
Yes.
The socialization is important.
Yes.
Because then a lot of the boys end up being this extreme of softness.
Yeah.
Because no one really showed them what it means to be a man. I remember talking to a lady who was a single lady, and I was brought up by a single lady, so I call them silver ladies, I support them a lot. But he was brought up by this single mom, but then the single mom didn't know what to do. So by the time the boy was 14 years, she was still sleeping in the same bed with the mom. And being done for everything. Of course, that's an extreme. Yes. And I talked to her, I said, you can't do that. And then, as a result, now the boy was doing everything mom does. So he was already now, getting to a point that everybody was worried, including the uncles. But it's because he has not had a man who can hold his hand, because there's what we call identification. When we get to 12, 13, 14, then a boy needs to identify with men. And a girl with women. If now that socialization is not there, there's no other person to identify with as a boy, then you'll identify with the girls around you or with your mom. And it's not your problem. It's just you are not helped to grow into the man that you're supposed to be. So when I talk a lot to single moms, and it's one of the reasons why I wrote this book, to celebrate my mom.
Us about the book.
The Power of a Mother. I wrote this, The Power of a Mother. 10 lessons I learned from my mother right now, and I celebrate her. She was very intentional in bringing us up in a way that says, be this kind of a human being who is I talked about kindness and empathy, how she taught us, but also then directed us to the men for socialization. She made sure that one uncle or someone else was there. She was very intentional in helping us, grow up to be boys. And I'm just talking about those things and how to pass them on. So parenting is very crucial. If parenting goes wrong, then later we're going to harvest the results in the dating scene. So women need to be there, especially between 5 and 8. It's very crucial time for mothers to teach their boys to be emotionally aware. And then after that, the men need to be there to also model masculinity, good masculinity for the boys as well.
I like what, sorry. I like what Mr. Mbevi has just said about parenting. I used to run a program where I used to work before, an initiation program for boys after they leave from class 8, Christian perspective background. So one thing that would surprise me the most is that these boys used to be brought by their mothers. You know, they had no male figure to bring these boys for initiation. In some cases, these boys had not even been prepared psychologically for what they were coming for. And you would find the child has been brought into the compound, they've been dropped off, and nobody has told them what they are coming for. So when the procedure begins, they would be chased. They are running around the compound because they're like, what are you trying to do to me? Like, they would literally be chased to be brought back. And that was so traumatic to them because it felt like they are being butchered. Nobody sat down with them to tell them, you are now of age, this is what's going to happen. you know, and even after the procedure was done, you would hear them saying, I miss my mommy. Can I talk to my mommy today? Nobody has told them, you are now becoming a man. This is how you behave.
I want us to take a break right there. We'll pick it up from after the break. But the question of the day today, as we take this break, is: do you think? Let me just get to that for you. Ikoapi. Is the rise of soft men in modern dating a positive shift towards emotional vulnerability, or is it a sign of men losing traditional masculine traits? And I can see your feedback on Facebook. I will be coming back with that after this break.
Family Bank's journey began with a visionary leader, Mr. Titus Muya.
They all grew from humble beginnings and then grew to become big international organizations.
Family Bank has grown alongside the nation, empowering individuals, businesses, and communities.
The vision and mission of Family Bank, we believe in positive transformation of people's lives.
I've enjoyed their services and they have supported me to grow.
Kwa sababu si umesikia ni ya family na si tukaingia ndani tukawa hapo na mpaka wakati huu tuko hapo hatujatoka.
Catch Family Bank at 40 documentary on Wednesday 2nd April at 8:40 p.m. only on NTV.
We are family. Tufanikishe zaidi.
Want to know the biggest story of the week? Do not worry. The Weekly Review got you covered. For in-depth analysis of politics, business, governance, as well as social issues, The Weekly Review covers it all. For well-researched, exclusive and investigative content, read The Weekly Review every Sunday in the Sunday Nation.
Raila and the Ruto, they have staged a civilian coup against the Constitution of Kenya.
We choose to stand on the side of the people of Kenya.
Eugene Wamalwa, miss me with that.
You don't buy it at all?
Not one bit.
Ruto alikuja, akasema Raila nisaidie.
We are going to deal with the criminals that are hiding into the border through registration, through self-monitoring, and see who is around us.
President William Ruto's roadside declarations are just becoming a very unhinged way to have conversations, to be a leader, and I'm just saying miss me with that.
Fixing the Nation, one conversation at a time on NTV, Nation FM, on YouTube, Facebook, X, TikTok, Instagram. We are live everywhere. We are building a community of fixers. Please join us. It's Eric Latif, Mariam Bishar, and Janet Bogwa.
Ni kupanda na kushuka maisha tunayoishi. Kulala na kurauka kila kitu hakitoshi. Tunusuru ya rabuka ujana ni moshi. Maisha ni msumeno hukata mbele na nyuma. Ina mtego tamaa kwenye maisha sasa.
To get maisha tunayoishi by Nuhu, dial *812 *804#.
Dunia kizaza pindi unapojitosa.
Skiza na Nation.
Ukata mbele na nyuma.
Shilingi 1000.
Toka kwa hiyo sanduku.
Stoki.
Oh, rudisha hiyo pesa kwa sanduku namba 10.
Ongeza ifike 50.
Kwa nini? Anataka ukule popcorn ukitizama runinga, sawa? 100,000 Kenya shillings. Inch TV Smart 1,000 Kenya shillings. Yes!
Welcome back. Welcome back to Your World Tuesday edition. We're talking about the evolving dating landscape when it comes to the rise of the effeminate man. Remember, if I bundle all of those words I used to in Venyanilianza, Nina, letter confusion. So we're going to go with the effeminate man. And we've talked about who that man is, what they're about. We've talked about dating and what the relationships look like, the expectations of the man that used to be and the man that has evolved to become our today man. And our question today is the rise of soft men in modern dating a positive shift towards emotional vulnerability, or is it a sign of men losing traditional masculine traits? And y'all have a lot to say, okay? Hiya, dictatorship is not masculinity. We're in Prince Lubisha Kelvin. A man should be measured by wisdom of leading and guiding, and not by violence and being harsh or unfriendly. Na sisi kama panel tunakubali. Jared Ngere says, whether hard or soft, as a man, never overstretch your abilities and emotional intelligence to please anyone's daughter. Hey. Yeah, man. Hey. Why? Hey, Jay Sivirike says, today's man, focus on what adds value to their life is what matters a lot. Arnold Ondigo says, shifting from violence, dictatorship, reigning ego, and disrespect to positivity, calmness, self-awareness, and being responsible shouldn't be confused for softness. They know me decide kutuambia poverty is the enemy of men. I don't know what that means, but if there's an insight to that, I'd definitely like to pick it up. Dominic Lawton says it's a man's world. Women should just adjust accordingly.
Adaptability.
It's a man's world, Omesema. I will repeat, Eliud Mudhui. Women want soft men to control. But in real life, they need masculine men. My advice to men everywhere, you must learn to balance between softness and masculinity. No? Softness to relate well, and rugged masculinity to lead well. You must strike that balance. And I don't know which one you'd like to pick up on. Maybe we can start with the poverty is the enemy of men, and what that, how you resonate or understand that.
Okay. For me, what I would say, it's not necessarily poverty.
Okay.
What the man is trying to say, if I get him right, is that so much is expected out of men, and yet they are not there. They have finished college, they have no employment. Does that mean they cannot take a girl out? That's what he tries to say. Once you get to the house, probably you had a job, and then because of the many competitions and what is going on, that you are retrenched. Does that make you a lesser man just because you are considered poor, because you cannot provide? So this poverty is talking about, if I get it well, is quote unquote not being in a position to provide at the early age of dating, and that is happening a lot. And also when you're already into maybe a working space and you lose that job, you go back to the house. What happens to you? Do you stop being the masculine gender and become a soft man, a quote unquote again? So that's what he's asking. And what I would want to say is that we should approach all this with empathy. Remember that son that is of age and wants to settle down. They can be supported, and we do that many times at church. We support them. We give them something to do, a business, or give them employment. We have done that a lot. And then encourage them now to settle down. That does not mean when he was dating and could not afford that outing, does not make him a man enough to become a husband. The other thing, once you lose your job, that does not also make you that soft, quote unquote, man that should not even be heard. You can still dictate, okay, not dictate, I don't want to say dictate. You can still direct and lead and tell your wife, this is what you have, because there is openness between the two of you, I want to imagine, and say, this is the direction we are going to take. Let's invest this way and let's do this. So that's what I think he's talking about, and I want to encourage him and tell him, There's no poverty at all. They just need an environment that understands them to boost them up.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I think also as a society, and not just us, but the whole world, I think relationships have really been materialized. And I think that's the pressure that men are feeling. That if I don't have this substantial amount of money, then I cannot afford to have a particular woman because I don't have money. And that's why I always go back to the question, why are we getting into this relationship? What is my goal as I get into this relationship? Is it a transactional relationship? Am I looking for support? Am I looking for friendship? Am I looking for leadership? Because you find that relationships have been misunderstood for transactions. If I am not earning a particular amount of money as a man, then I'm not quote unquote worthy to be in a relationship. But that's not right. You know, this person has other support that he gives his partner. You know, his presence alone is support. Even as he tries to plan himself, and you know, as a woman, you can actually look at a man and see, this man is ambitious. He's going somewhere. Yes. He may not be there right now, but I can already see where he's going. I can already see his orientation. I can already see his effort and what he's made of. I can already see his leadership. So at the end of the day, as a woman, I'm just saying, you might marry this man because he has money right now, but you don't know in 10 years' time where he's going to be. What if he loses everything? Are you still going to be there? Will it change? So the question is, why am I getting into this relationship? And I think that's why men are feeling, that's why such a man would write something like that. They are feeling the pressure that unless I have made $1 million somewhere, then I'm not worthy to have a wife or to be in a relationship. Yeah,
and I hope the ladies out there are listening, because this is very balanced. Yes. Out there, it's not like that. Huh? I've had women say, if a man doesn't have money, he's useless. What am I going to marry? I've had such statements said to me and to others. I've had men who, when they lost their job, their women left. Now, that's very transactional, as you're saying. And if that's what attracts you, then that's what will keep you. And if it can't keep you, you're going to bounce. That's not a relationship, it's business. But then going back to what poverty does, and it's not only poverty, it's other experiences that men go through. They shouldn't dim your lights as a man. You should not allow your experience to destroy your spirit. And that's why we agree, Bishop. Because the fact that I've lost my job doesn't mean I stay in the house crying all the time and never being able to rise up to my responsibility, even if I can't provide. I can lead in other ways. I can, leadership is not just being out in front. It's also being able to facilitate what is happening and be there to encourage. But then we have one chapter in Man Enough that we call the Wounded Warrior. And I think that's what a lot of men relate to. Because they say, I went through experiences that crushed something in me and I lost my voice. I want to be that man I need to be, but something died and I need help to get it back. And to some men, it's loss of a job. Then they feel like I have no say. So I just keep quiet and lose my voice and sit there and now get to that place where the woman is wondering, what do I do with this person? Because they've become too much now. So men, as men, we need to deal with the experiences we go through. We shouldn't allow those experiences to completely deconstruct our masculinity. We need to recover from them, just like ladies also go through those experiences. And some get completely crushed by them, and they are struggling in their femininity. Just like some men get so crushed that they are struggling to rise up to be what they need to be. So let's deal with those things so that we rise up to be the men who will be a blessing at the dating scene.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that. Jaden Koikai says, absentee fathers, but physically present. Please, let's talk about that. So they are absent, but physically they are present, and what that does to the boy child.
Yeah, I think that's a big deal, because that person becomes emotionally distant. They're there, but they're not connecting. I think I've shared a story before where I was invited into a school to talk to a boy who was now doing drugs, was caught with drugs on his desk. And he had been sent home, and now he had come back, and I was being asked to come and talk to him to ask, what is the problem? Why are you doing drugs? When I asked him, he said, I just wanted to get the attention of my dad. He is so not present in my life. I said, let me do something really stupid so that my dad at least can talk to me, because he's there, but he never talks to me. He never asks me questions. He never corrects me. It's always mom who is correcting me. So I said, let me get his attention to see whether he loves me enough to get involved. So I asked him, did it work? He said, actually, I was sent home and I was very happy. I took the suspension letter to my to my dad. I timed when mama just stepped out, because I knew if I give him when mom is around, he's going to delegate to mom. So I wanted to deal with him, not my mom. And so he waited. Mom was out, and he took the letter and gave it to him. So the man sat there, looked at it, looked at him, looked at it, and said, wait until your mom comes. So eventually, the mom came, and he gave him the letter and said, deal with your stupid boy. You know what the boy told me? I'm going to live as if my father is dead. I'm going to assume he's dead so that I expect nothing from him. So when a child goes through a passive father who is there but not really there, then of course they have a longing. They have a desire to connect with this man as a boy, because they want to identify with a man. But he is not forthcoming. They get frustrated. If they don't find someone else to identify with out there, then that frustration will cause them to delink with their masculinity. And a lot of things happen later, as I have dealt with many people in that place. So I think I want to say to all the men out there, and some of them, it's just they need help, because they related like that with their own dad. So they don't know how to break the cycle. They are socialized like that, so they don't know what to do. What do I talk? I remember taking men somewhere and then telling them, have an hour with your son and then come back. 15 minutes later, a lot of them came back, said, we have talked everything we could talk. So I had to give some of them now, talk about number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, so they know how then to talk with their sons. So some of them just need help. They don't have a skill to know how to connect. Others is just that they are not being responsible, and that should be condemned. But overall, it's not a good thing for society and also for masculinity in the next. I always say, Mwikali, that prediction of a quality of masculinity in the next generation is a quality of fatherhood today. If the men today, because they model masculinity, are not good, the boys are not going to have much to emulate. So we blame the boy a lot, but the boy doesn't bring himself up. We need to say, the men, let's walk with the men, let's pass on the baton of masculinity.
Great. Maybe I should say something. I've been a teacher for 16 years, and one of the schools I was teaching is Highway Secondary. It was a day school, and it was a boys' school of 1,000 plus. And anytime we had an academic clinic, or maybe the boy misbehaved, what would happen? You'd see mothers. The whole school, the whole hall was filled with mothers. And when you ask, do you have a dad? Yes, my dad is very busy. Mwalimu, you have to understand, but my mom is always available. Does your mom work? She works. She works. But she's able to ask for permission. So I think it boils down to the fact that fathers be present in their bringing of your sons. And that will be beautiful. Even your daughters.
Yes.
Because daughters also need their fathers so much.
That's so true. There's something that maybe just as a flip side of that, present, absent father, present physically, but a mother who's very active, very present, very available emotionally and otherwise. Do you think there's a possibility then that the man, this boy, grows up to become a man who knows things that need to be solved are done by a woman? Then even in your marriage or relationships, then you tend to probably just take the back seat, because all you know is that a woman will solve it. A woman will find a solution to it.
Maybe I can say something about that.
Yes.
There's something I studied in psychology called Oedipus complex. Sons tend to be very close to their moms.
That's true.
but at the same time, they look up to their dads for leadership.
Yeah.
Their moms, very close. So a mom, if well-placed, they can instill the best of behaviors in their sons right from the onset.
Yeah.
You know, the way they talk to them. And I feel when you are raising a child, any child, boy or girl, don't shout. Learn to dialogue with them. Learn to speak to them. We were beaten ourselves.
Yes.
But that was the wrong way of parenting.
Yeah.
When you speak to them, these children become, even if it's a boy, they become men that are very, very kind-hearted, soft-spoken. I don't necessarily say they are, you know, swayed, but soft-spoken. They are assertive and they have direction. Then their father now picks up at that age of 14 when they are becoming men. Mine became a man, that's a man, at 8 years.
Yes.
Yes, according to my husband's tradition.
Yes.
And the kind of man I see now in him is a very good man who is soft-spoken, very assertive, and somebody who knows where they are going. So what I think is that the way we raise our children, a mother has a place to play. Discipline, cleanliness. You have to take care of yourself. Don't make noise. Responsibility. You have to learn this and that. And then as they grow. But one thing that I realized, let me just say this.
Yes.
When my son fell out, I hope he's not listening, with a girlfriend, he did not go to the dad.
Oh.
He came to me. And I had been looking for him the whole house. I could not find him. And it was not usual. So then he said, Mom, I'm here. When I went there, he cried, told me this has happened, but please don't tell my sisters. Don't even tell Dad.
I know, Misema kwa TV.
Yes. Sorry. Sorry, I hope he doesn't listen.
Yes. So,
yes. No, we give them a shoulder to lean on. He believes in you. And he believes you have the best in your heart for him.
But it's the truth, because sometimes I will hear things from my mom that my brother hasn't told me yet. I'm just like, yo, we grew up together. Yeah. You come to me, I got you. But then they will find a way. It will get to me at some point, but somehow.
Yeah. But maybe something to add, and then you come in. I think there's a lot of wisdom you can add here. But before we lose that point, yes, it's true. When a boy is brought up by a mom who is very present, and there is no alternative picture, then it's very easy for them to leave, even when they get married. Some things he should be doing that he's not doing because he thought a lady needs to do. I'll give you my personal example because I have no shame in these things. When we got married, for example, because I was brought up by my mom since 8 years alone, then my mom woke up early in the morning, did a lot of the things, and then she was the last one to go to bed. So she was the last one to lock the doors. And then I get married, and I assume my wife is going to lock the doors. And it's a small thing. And we can laugh about it, but now there could be bigger things which can break a marriage. This one did not. It's only that 3 months later, we realized that the door, nobody ever locks the door. So I said, you should lock the door because I leave you in the kitchen doing some things. I help and then go. So I expected you would. Said, no, I expected you would. So I thought you had. And now we had to agree then what works. Because sometimes you need to open it up and go outside and do something and then come back. But it was a small thing. I was just using it as an example to say it's very easy. If I didn't see otherwise, then I begin to assume that's how it happens. But it's because my dad used to do it before he died. But now by the time I grew up, it was mom doing all the time. So that's why I was saying it's very important, 12, 13, 14, for boys to have a male mentor who is working with them. So they also see the other side, especially if they have grown up with mom alone.
Okay.
I like what you've just said just now, that you had to relearn. And that's the beauty of life, relearning. I mean, we've all grown up in different families. Some have had abusive dads, some have had present dads, and some have had absent dads, even if they're physical. And you've probably picked up things from your family. But I don't think any person's personality or any person's behavior should be cast on stone. I think there's a process of learning. You know, you had to learn that now as a man, my role is different in this house. I'm expected to protect. I'm expected to close the doors. I'm expected to do this. And I think what you've brought out is a point of patience. Your wife must have been very patient with you to know. He doesn't know. We are both learning together what it is to be married and to live together in a household. So it's having patience to allow this person to navigate the new uncharted waters.
Yeah.
You know, because he's never been married before. I don't know why we feel like when we come into relationships and especially marriages, we should come knowing these things.
Yeah.
If I have never been a wife before, for crying out loud, I'm just learning to become a wife. If I have never been a husband before, I'm just learning. You know, so it's good to give each other that grace, that space, even in dating.
Yeah.
You know, we have talked about dating and soft man, and how about talking about it? How about communicating that, hey, I mean, sometimes I would really like for you to take the initiative to plan for our dates. Yeah. I would like you to take the initiative to take me out and even pay and even surprise me with a nice date. Yeah. And a man to say, I would really take the initiative. I would love for you to take the initiative to know that my love language is an act of service. Do for me an act of service.
Absolutely.
So it's about communicating our wants, communicating our needs, and even communicating our inadequacies. I don't know how to communicate my disappointment without releasing a bit of aggression. Can I relearn that? Can I relearn new behavior? Because sometimes what actually bring in toxic masculinity and even toxic femininity is just that thing of believing this is how I am.
Yeah.
I can't change.
Yeah.
This is how I was brought up.
Yeah.
And because this is it, this is the law. And it's cast on stone like the 10 Commandments.
Yeah.
You know? But the thing is, we change. And that's why I think God gives us so many experiences in life. Some that are good, some that are bad, just to chisel away what's good and add in what's good. So I think it's a matter of asking myself, what is it that I learned from my home that I can carry with me to where I'm going, to the relationship I'm going? You know, I learned from my mom that, you know, how I saw my mom be a good wife to my father. Yes. And I saw her be an amazing nurturing mother. I can't wait to be a mother for me to nurture my kids the way I was nurtured. Yes. Because I still reel at that. I was loved by my mom, you know, and even my dad. And I'm like, I would want to pass on that. But I also saw things in my family that I'm like, I don't want to take that with me. So how do I change that? And I have seen them in me. Sometimes, you know, you'll be abrasive over certain situations because it's what you grow up seeing. Yeah. But you learn to accommodate new situations, to accommodate new people in your life.
Yeah.
And that's what growth is.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have a few more comments here. Victoria, and I like that the men, they're not taking a back seat on today's conversation. Victor Macarius says no to our question. Men should be hardcore. That's why we have many men who cry a lot due to heartbreaks. Nowadays, many men are just simping. Before I wasn't, but due to experience, I'm as hardcore as they come. Where?
Learning happened.
Where? Men are just losing traditional traits. That is Nyamache Steven. Melly Obed says, men losing traditional masculinity. Braxton Edward says, men don't see why they should be masculine and why they should be masculine. What do you get in return? Feminists changed the game and men are just adapting to the game. Yo. Hey. Someone also agrees that money is still a major issue. Sumba says, Mimi, I don't know if I'm hard or soft, but I know you can't take away the man in me. Most men are losing it because they want to be called gentleman. And he puts that in capital letters. And I'm like, huh? Okay. Traditional masculine traits. You mean toxic masculinity that shamed men for expressing their emotions, seeking validation and reassurance, and doing the same for their partners. The same traits that are responsible for high rates of domestic violence and skyrocketing rates of suicide among men. The actual shift is from the wounded masculine to the healed masculine.
I like that statement. Not everything, but how he ended it. But how he ended it.
Yes.
But also just to say, I like what you said about relearning and learning. And I think that's one of the reasons why we decided let's gather together as men and talk to each other. Because we can encourage each other, correct one another, and say what you're doing to your partner is not good. That's not being manly. That is now being violent. We can talk to one another in that way. I've realized from experience, men listen a lot more to each other. I can talk very tough to a man and say, no, you're not just being foolish, by doing this in a way that the wife may not tell him because of his ego, maybe. But I can tell him, and we can talk to each other. So I just want to say as men, let's talk to each other and let's deconstruct what is wrong. But then let's construct what is right. We can't lose everything. We have what is right, which is what we have been talking about here, and not go to the extremes. But I also wanted to say that we need to give each other permission to be.
Absolutely.
There's what you said about toxic femininity. That can also then cause a reaction to the men. Just like toxic masculinity causes a reaction from the women. So we need to realize that we're not here to compete. We're not here to teach each other a lesson. We're here to have a relationship. We're here to enjoy love. And if there's love, let's talk to each other. Let's listen to each other and not judge. Instead of just judging everyone and saying you're a useless soft male or this and the other. Let's say, how can we learn together? These are my expectations of you. Maybe you never got it from where you were raised, but this is what I expect of you as my man, and this is what I expect of you as my, and then we work together something that will make the society a happy place. Let's not make the dating scene a bloodbath where we're just attacking each other and dismissing one another. Let's build this for the sake of ourselves and our children.
Absolutely. We need to run for a break. We hold on to that. We hold on to that. Let's hold on to that. There's also a lot of comments around how the man has become a simp. Now we are using soft to mean they are simps. That is what we want them to be, where they simp over women. They will cry, follow, and they've forgotten that the man is the prize. And we will come back to that and read that particular comment. But right now, though, we need to take a quick commercial break. We will be right back. Don't go too far.
Taarifa Teke na e-paper. Stay in the know on the go. Getting the full story bila ngori. To sign up, choose your preferred subscription. Use the promo code SUBZ22 to get 20% off and pay. Get your favorite newspaper and enjoy the truth anywhere, anytime. For inquiries, email epaper@ke.nationmedia.com or call 0790 Subscribe today and get your Taarifa Teke.
Mahali ya kusisimua na yenye mvuto. Kutoka mashinani hadi mijini.
Zaidi ya madaktari 200 wameweza kuanza mgomo wao rasmi.
Serikali ya kaunti inaendeleza miundombinu kuhakikisha kuwa maji inapatikana kwa urahisi.
Ni chimbuko la habari zinazokuhusu wewe.
Kupata ID, sisi tulikuwa kama alias ambaye wamekuwa discriminated.
Michebebe is very nutritious, very chlorophyllous, very delicious, but less malicious.
Bila chuku, bila upendeleo. Taarifa halisi na asilia kutoka kwa wananchi kwa ajili ya wananchi.
Ndilo kero la taka ambao umeshuhudiwa katika mji huu wa matunda.
Kama serikali hawajachukua hiyo hatua, sisi wa Orma tutachukua hatua.
NTV Mashinani. Kila siku ya wiki saa 12:30 jioni hadi saa 1 jioni.
Mwenyezi Mungu atakufungulia hazina zake nzuri kutoka mbinguni na kubariki kazi za mikono yako. Utayakopesha mataifa mengi, lakini wewe hautakopa. Mungu atakufanya kuwa wa kwanza na sio wa mwisho. Hakika utaendelea mbele na sio kurudi nyuma.
Na Nation.
I feel kwenye moyo wake the pain of betrayal.
Not everybody wants this day to be a success.
Kuna yeyote anayepinga ndoa hii?
Cecilia!
Why are you still standing? Wakati they're ruining our day. Na umeng'eta tu hapo.
Sensodyne gives you long-lasting protections against sensitivity. And people come in and they're like, oh, it works. I can have ice cream and I'm not in any discomfort. I recommend Sensodyne because it works. It's brilliant.
The Nation Health Summit is back. Join us as we tackle innovation to accelerate universal health coverage.
With rising cases of diabetes, stroke, and cancer across Kenya's 12,000 plus healthcare facilities, we need solutions now.
Healthcare leaders will gather to drive the UHC agenda forward. Be part of transforming Kenya's healthcare.
Do you want to participate? Details are on your screen.
Welcome back. Welcome. The show is continuing during the break. It's fire. We're having the sound team ask questions and them being answered. And probably we'll try and see if he's courageous enough to come grab the microphone and ask that question himself. He's shaking his head like this. But Salim, gather courage. Gather courage. Today, the question of the day is the rise of soft men in modern dating a positive shift towards emotional vulnerability, or is it a sign of men losing traditional masculine traits? And during the break, just to rope you in, because this was very juicy during the break, Salim, our sound technician, asked, where's the role of the man now who was not empowered as the woman was being empowered to be able to meet the empowered woman now? So what is this journey? Who's walking this journey with the men? And what does it look like for them as men who were left behind as the woman was being taken to this Canaan? Apa katikati ya hii desert. Kulienda aje? Yes.
I think there is a lot of work that needs to be done about that, because at a point, I being an educationist,
yes,
I realized that we were doing much for the girl child more than the boys. But I've realized of late again, people have come up with programs for the boys. And I'm also now a bit skeptical about that, because if we don't balance it, we realize that we have gone back to what was there before. But what I think, having said that, is that we should affirm the boys and tell them this is who you are, nothing will change. And even when there was the what seemed like favoring the girl child, it was not really doing that. It was also bringing up their self-esteem. Yeah. And even if their points were less when it came to joining university or going to national schools, there is something that was being promoted because they'd been disadvantaged for a long time. And more so when you look at the ASAL regions, the arid and semi-arid lands where I started my teaching profession, a parent would pay school fees for a boy. And then when it comes to our school, where I was teaching, a girls' school then, they would say, I will do some work in your school in lieu of cash. So would ask, did you pay for the boy in the other school? Yes. But that is a boy. Yeah. But for the girl, can you allow me to be working? So we would ask the father, how do you expect the school to run? Yeah. And I think out of that, that's where those who are concerned at that time as policymakers, they thought it was necessary to try and lift the girl child, because there was disadvantage of that girl right from home. Yeah. And more so in certain regions, it really happened. They were married off early, all that happened, and the girl was dragging behind. And when it was done, I think it was again overdone. Too much of anything is poisonous. And now our boys are going down. They are, they are sitting back and saying, the girls are so powerful. How do we deal with an empowered woman? Yeah. So I think at this juncture, we need to do it for the boys. We need to concentrate on them, not forgetting that if we overdo it again, we'll go back to the same point.
Okay. But can I just ask in this context, what is empowerment?
Okay.
Because both women and men have gone to school. If we're talking about, because the way we're making it look, it's like empowerment is educational, isn't it?
Yes.
We've both gone to university, we meet in university, we get our degrees. So is this empowerment just about education, or is it empowerment in terms of becoming more self-aware, your esteem being raised, knowing who you are as a man, as a woman, knowing your personhood, just being able to sit well in yourself?
Okay.
Maybe I should say something about that, what I meant by that.
Okay.
When the girl child was going to university some time back, they would be taken with 2 points less than a boy.
Yes.
For the same course.
Yes.
Even if they are going for medicine, the girl would pass with 2 points for that course, and the boy would be expected to be at that, let's say 72. The girl could go in for the same course with 70. And I think because of that, because it was done in a very, you could see it was so overemphasized, the girls became so empowered in terms of joining courses with less marks that a boy could not join. And those boys who had the same mark, let's say 70, could not join that course. They would go for another, maybe, quote-unquote, lesser course. I don't like calling anything less, but a lesser course. And I think through that time, and I think it was so done during the era of President Moi, the girl came out so strongly, and boys seem to have been neglected. And that's why you see even the Pastor Dorcas speaking and saying, I want to empower the boy child, because I think some things the policies that happened, some of them seemed to have left the boy and the boy to fight for themselves. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But I think empowerment should be wholesome.
Yeah.
Maybe to add that, and I agree, it should be wholesome. Huh?
Yes.
Yeah. When someone is empowered, then they have what it takes to make their own decisions and guide themselves in their destiny. That's what a lot of the ladies, girls, did not have at that point. You didn't have access to wealth, you didn't have all of that. But then the big question is, how do you use your power? As the men had abused their relational power to hurt the woman. Now, as you are empowered as a woman, are you going to use that for good or misuse it? Abuse of power, whichever place, is going to cause trouble. And I'm saying that because I know I've dealt with many cases where a lady earns a lot more in terms of money.
Yes.
That is power.
Yeah.
And then you feel now you can harass this man in your home because you have the power of money.
Yeah.
That's an attitude. It's a misuse of power.
That's true.
My wife, there's a time I was in college and she was the one bringing in money for the family. She never disrespected me. In fact, she encouraged me because we were doing it together. But then the others, when they get that power, they'll say, get out of here, you're useless. Huh? Yeah. So it's what do you do with the power that you have? If both of us are empowered, let's not use it to fight each other. And just like the sound man was saying, I'm not coming here to replace you. And I can never replace you, you can never replace me. I'm coming here to use my power to serve the relationship better in whatever my role is. Not to use it against you or you to use it against me. Then it becomes war, the war we were talking about.
Battle of the sexes, you said. Yeah. There's a comment here that says, we know men as hunters and gatherers. A man would rather be a player than going soft. And it just brings a totally different dimension from what we've talked about, because they feel probably they need to keep conquering and hunting and winning, even if it means it's this girl and then that girl and that girl. And I don't know if, in my opinion,
a softer man can do it better than a hard person.
I actually think so.
A hard guy, you'll always think, what is he doing? And you're checking him. But a softer guy is able to play more than
No, nasigundulike. Usiwapatie hizi siri,
Bishop, I'm sure you're not encouraging it, eh? But I think what we are saying, don't misuse the power. Whether it's soft power or whether it's a hard power, don't misuse it. Huh?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, and I think that man is coming from the point that, and I like what you said, it's about traditional
setup
values or traits.
Yes.
Are they being lost or are they being kept? There are some that should be kept, which are good. There are some that should be lost, which are not good. I think that's been the conversation here. And one of them that should be lost is that one of conquering and making sure that you are gathering from many women out there. At the end of the day, that doesn't help. Huh? There's a part for having power means you can control yourself as well. That's power.
That's true.
That even though you have many desires here and there, you can control yourself for a better cause of either a marriage, a relationship, or a family.
Let me add also that I think the only thing that needs to be conquered is yourself. What are you conquering out there? Conquer you. You know? Conquer your bad habits, your low self-esteem, upgrade yourself to become a better person. When you're there hitting, there's something in you that you're trying to conquer and fulfill and prove to yourself that I am still a viral man, I'm still a strong man, I'm still a hardcore man. But at the end of the day, you've proved nothing, because when you stop doing it and you're alone, there's still that emptiness you feel. So why not take that to conquer who you are as a man? Meaning, how do I upgrade myself? How do I empower myself? How do I become better? Which forums do I need to go to, like Mr. Mbevi is saying? You know, conquer yourself. If you need to conquer something, you're a conquest. Conquer yourself.
And then the hunting, you can also use it to keep hunting your wife even when she's there.
Okay. I like it.
My wife still wants me to pursue her.
Yes.
To text her in the day and say, how are you doing?
Yes.
Can I buy you coffee? You know, things like that. I'm still hunting. I don't have now to go to another person. Say, this one is conquered and dealt with, and she's on the shelf. No, I can still use that hunting to enhance what I have in my home, not to take it out there.
Okay.
Well, talking about training, and I think I'll give this to the sound man, this booklet. And I think that's why I think we need then as men to encourage ourselves and build ourselves, not as against the women, but for us to be better men. And I've written this book called The 5 Commitments of a Real Man. The 5 Commitments of a Real Man. And we're also doing a program that is, we are hoping to mentor 1 million boys by 2030. So we're doing it in schools, we're doing it in other places, but we're taking boys through a year-long mentorship, from 7 years all the way to 18. So that we just, talk is cheap. We can keep saying the boy child is in trouble, but if we do nothing, 10 years after today, we'll still be at the same place. We'll be talking a lot more. So just us working together as mothers, as sisters, as men, as women, to empower the boy child rightfully, the right kind of empowerment, so they live their masculinity well.
I want to add something to what he has said.
Yes.
You should not leave out the street boys. I mentored street boys for 9 years.
Whoa.
9
That is a whole different ballgame.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Every day.
For 9 years. While I was in Hurlingham.
Okay.
Yes. And many of them started families. They have businesses. They went back to college. We needed just to empower them and to tell them, you can do it. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, for 9 years.
For 9 years.
So when you mentor boys, you don't leave them, because most of them are out there.
Yeah.
Silvana Sosoro, MP, who is also my son spiritually, was also in the streets.
Yes, he was.
And he speaks about it a lot.
He does.
And now he is our chief whip. Yeah. So when you talk about the boy, don't leave out the street boys because most men are there. Don't leave the men in prison, because majority of men are there.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is so
That's
true.
right. And I love that. We're actually doing Man Enough in prison. And it's really helping the men, because then they come and say, being incarcerated has really broken me. And I remember at some point, the commission allowed their wives to come. Some of them, their wives to come and celebrate their graduation of Man in Earth. And some of the women will say, I wish I had this kind of man before he came here. Now he's a good man. But I think it's an effort for all of us to say, let's work together for better men and better women.
Absolutely. Just before we come to the end of this conversation, I just have a few more comments. There are way more comments out here. David says, softness is not a net worth parameter. Net worth is measured by values such as honesty, faithfulness, goodness. A softie who has these qualities is better than a hardcore who doesn't. We're here for all of that. In my view, soft men represents a positive evolution in how men approach relationships and express themselves, moving away from rigid gender roles and embracing healthy understanding of masculinity. Dennis Cascon says women had issues with men being traditional. Now they softened it, and it has now become a problem. Oh, ladies, has it become a problem? I
agree with him.
You agree with him?
Yeah.
How so?
Yeah, they have moved, like, the first comment. Before that one, there was another comment that you...
In my view, soft men represents a positive evolution in how men approach relationships
positive evolution.
And express themselves, moving away from rigid gender roles and embracing healthy understanding of masculinity.
Yes.
But then did we soften them and then now they become a problem?
No, they're not a problem. It's the way we handle it, honestly. And that's what I started from the start. That a soft man is not necessarily a negative thing.
That's true.
It's an asset.
Yeah.
Hey. Well, there are some who have become a problem. The extreme that Bishop was talking about. The extreme.
Yes.
But in terms of being emotionally aware, that's a great thing. That's a blessing.
Yes.
I want that kind of a man for my daughter. But then there are others that I'll look at them and say, who is going to help each other here? So I think it's a balance, as we said from the very beginning.
That's true. Oliver Gregory says, soft men, you say? Question mark kubwa hapo. I call it effeminate men with fishbone as spine. The role of a real male stroke man in society is sacred. It's etched in God's creation plan. Modernity and modernization has pushed for agendas like LGBTQ and has encouraged men to be soft. Go to America and many other countries crying for soft men and see what their moral and social fabric looks like. And there's a kuna kwanga na vute ni kuvute hapo penye. You've become so soft, we start seeing you as a certain way. We see you as a metrosexual, we think, you're too soft. But then we don't take probably the time to look at the values in these people. So we're still saying that values is where it's at. Where it's at.
It is, and I think we deconstructed the traditional toxic man without reconstructing what it means then to be a man today in the modern world. And that to me is one of the big asks that we need to redefine. The traditional way, some things have been overtaken by time. The man was the provider, the sole provider. Because then he was in charge of all the property. But now he's not. We are providing together. So reconstructing positive masculinity is a big deal. We have deconstructed to a degree that sometimes there's no any construction, but we still need construction of what does a real man look like, and that's why we talk together, the values, and I like that measurement of the values, because a man is not what he is without, is who he is within. Because what is without, you can have it today and you don't have tomorrow. It's not the six-pack, it's not the beards, it's not all of that. It's who are you within? What's the spirit within? That's what we are looking at, and we need to redefine that.
Absolutely. And I'd like to find out in the spaces that we are in, because we are all in very powerful spaces and stages where we are looked up to for direction, we are looked up to for advice, we're looked up to for clarity of things. What is it that we're doing? And I know, Bishop, you mentioned how for 9 years you mentored the street boys, and I don't know what it is that is happening probably in your space now for the men out there that they might look out for or tap into.
I want to say something because I worked in conjunction with somebody. families. Right now, I'm not working with the street boys anymore because of the distance.
Yes.
But I'm working with wanted to go back to school, and now we're talking about 450
young mothers
that I also preach to every Sunday.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, what I want to say regarding what you're saying,
what people can do in their own spaces,
they can do in their own spaces, is that you look for, first of all, nature abhors a vacuum. If you leave them, what I was saying, 9 years I was with them. Then somebody else picked up from there because he was doing a more complete work of reuniting them. That was quite something that I learned, because I saw men being changed from dirty men, shaved, dressed, washing, clothed, speaking, being part of the ushering team, choir. They joined every department, basically. And that's what we are doing with the mothers. So what I want to say, at all times, when it comes to you being effective in a society, look out for who you can transform, and transform permanently for a betterment of life. It's either a male or a female that you'll get in touch.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So mine has transitioned from now boys to girls, to mothers.
To mothers.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're doing one is at Man Enough, around for a while, and just bringing back the balance. And I'm glad that a lot of men have been involved, from the prisons to other places. We have now trained 50,000 men, which is a good dose in this community. But we hope to do more, and we work with different people. And then, of course, mentoring the boys, the 412 boys, that's what we call it, 412 boys. Mentoring the boys in schools, mentoring them in estates and all of that. And we can work together in the estates, in different schools. We're doing it in schools. And we also do the 412 girls, so that we don't leave them behind. So we do both.
Wow.
But of course with an emphasis for the boys, because their programs are very few. The single moms, even other moms, how do I then boy? Because some of them don't understand the boy, wonder why is he doing that, and then we get to explain to them, this is what the boy is asking for, this is how you can encourage him and help him build his masculinity well. So we have that for mothers, and we have for the fathers to know how to connect with their connected with their own father. Now we give them the skill and the information to know how to connect with their own. And lastly is we also do something for the ladies. My wife and a few other ladies leading it. We call it EZA, which is some call it the Woman Enough. Again, we don't want to leave them behind. We want, after the men have done this and the ladies have done, we meet together and have a discussion, so that it's not a war, it's a building together. So
that's
anyway,
beautiful.
And the Transform Nation socials, or Simon Bevy socials, then you can find all of this information, and we work together for the betterment of Kenya.
Absolutely. And your books as well, they can get them there. Salim since ameshapata yake for anybody else who'd like one. So Transform Nations on all social media. Please, Miriam, as you give us your parting shot as well.
For me, I work a lot. I'm also a counseling psychologist, so I do a lot of marriage therapy. But I also like working a lot with women, especially teaching women to embrace positive femininity. Positive femininity.
Okay.
That it's okay to own up to your feminine self. It's okay to be who God ordained you to be, without feeling like you're something less.
Yes.
And that means also in marriage, it's okay to embrace your space in marriage. In fact, I'm working on a workbook right now. It's called Bride to Wife, Planning Yourself Beyond the Ring. Planning yourself beyond the ring.
Is it out or not yet out?
It's almost out. And one of the things I want with that workbook is this. We always have bridal planning.
Yes.
A whole planner for planning your wedding.
Yes.
So yes, it will have part of you planning your wedding, but it will also have the other half of you planning your marriage. What is your vision for your marriage? What is your goal for your marriage?
Yeah.
What is your goal as a wife?
Yeah.
What kind of wife do you envision yourself being? What kind of home do you envision for yourself? So that's the kind of empowerment I work with. I'm very, I have a soft spot for marriages to work because I have gone through, I've counseled so many people in bad marriages, but I still believe that marriages are meant to work and are beautiful if we have two healthy individuals coming together. So mine is to help individuals to become healthy, both men and women, but I mostly specialize with women because I'm like, I understand what it feels like to be a woman, and I also understand toxic femininity, and I now want to change that to positive femininity. So that is my biggest thing. And as my parting shot is this.
Yes.
God was very intentional in creating us male and female. Very, very intentional. And he was very intentional in creating us having different traits and characteristics as men and women. Because the strengths I have as a woman, I complement the man with. And the strength he has as a man, he comes to complement me with. I will never be a man even if I try. And neither would I want to be a man. I am perfect. I'm a perfect woman the way God created me. And I have my strengths that I bring to the table. He has his strengths that he brings to the table. If we can learn to first accommodate yourself, how you are, and know what you need to change, and then be able to accommodate this other person, then what a wonderful world and relationship we'll have.
Absolutely. Because
it's a give and take. I give you what you don't have.
Yes.
You give me what I don't have.
Absolutely.
And we reciprocate each other that way.
Yeah.
So I think it's doable. But it takes
doable.
sacrifice.
And it's these conversations that actually take us to those spaces. And I'd like to deeply appreciate Bishop Grace, Simon Bevy, and Miriam for engaging us and indulging us in this not very easy conversation, but a very necessary conversation. Mbarikiwe sana. As for me, my take today, my producer is like, Mikali, what's your take? My take is we can live harmoniously together. Know who you are, know what your power is, sit in your essence as a man, sit in your essence as a woman. And I am team be soft and gentle with me, but be a leader, be a visionary, lead me. Choose that date. Of course, I will buy you a tie and that shirt once in a while. Thank you so much for tuning in today. It's been lovely for our audience at home. Asanteni sana pia. See you tomorrow. Same time, same place. Adios.